have changed, or we've kind of turned our attention to the problem of how do we provide intelligence to customers, because that is what we were really trying to do all along. We were just taking different steps or different attempts at it, right? And the first one was obviously trying to assemble apps, and now we're kind of saying, if you want to modernize your code base, or if you want to essentially understand your code base better for the purposes of modernization or maintenance or whatever, you could actually take that code base and run it through Crowdbotics, and it would generate for you the intelligence that you need to accelerate your development. That intelligence could be in the form of requirements, that intelligence could be in the form of just code understanding. It could be intelligence that is very low level, that shows you maybe entity relationship diagrams and functional relationships between components and stuff like that too, right? The reality is that the intelligence that's there within the Crowdbotics platform on an application can actually be interrogated by you either through structured means, so in the sense that we can generate, for example, a PRD, or we can generate a functional requirement or a technical specification or something like that. But you can also query it in different ways, right? And so you can ask questions like, tell me a little more about what this function does, right? And not only can we just tell you what the function does from the code perspective, which could say something like, I want to add 1 + 1 and, I want to add 2 numbers together. We can also tell you why it does that, right? So you're adding these 2 numbers for the purposes of, say, premium calculation in an insurance app, because we're also ingesting the business context and the documentation context, not just the code context, when we generate sort of this intelligence model that we're using. Most of our customers talking to us today is around app modernization, right? Everyone's doing it. Everyone's worried about staying on the mainframe. The fact is, mainframes are never going to die, but even just understanding the application that's running on a mainframe or an AS400 type system, where many of the developers don't exist or have retired out of the workforce, is one part of it, right? So it's not pure app modernization. I consider modernization to be both the replatforming of an application, but also the ongoing maintenance of that application. Because when you have a mission-critical mainframe app, it's really hard to take that and move it into, say, a microservices architecture or something like that, right? The resiliency that a mainframe gives you is not obvious, is not easy to implement in like a distributed microservices-based architecture or services-based architecture. So we see a lot of customers who talk to us about modernization. They mean combinations of actual replatforming or maintenance. You could also use the platform for just things like developer onboarding, right? And bring a new developer in, you have them understand the code base. It takes them, I don't know, on an average, maybe 6 to 12 weeks to come up to speed, depending on the complexity of the code base that you're throwing them into. Now, all of a sudden, Crowdbotics is here, and you can actually, the engineer no longer has to actually ask their peers and get like a transfer of knowledge. They're in a Copilot, and they can be asking these questions of the Copilot as they're actually maybe even fixing bugs and being productive from, say, day 1 as opposed to day 90, right? So there's that side of things. There could just be the all the documentation that you need for compliance, for example, providing like bills of materials, things of that sort as well. But really understanding all of this code and generating documentation for compliance purposes. So it's almost endless. It's like if you have essentially an engine or a brain that understands the why, the what, and the how of the code that you've got in your enterprise, and can connect it to things that are related to business and your business context. Now, all of a sudden, you actually have something that you can interrogate in different ways, and that's really what I think you can do. It's an API-driven model where now no longer do you have to worry about the extraction of data from Crowdbotics or a specific workflow. You can literally just leverage the intelligence that Crowdbotics provides to you at any stage of your software development lifecycle with the tools that you use, right? So if you want some of the Crowdbotics data to be pushed into Confluence, you can do that. If you want it to be pushed into Notion or Asana or Jira, you could do that. You don't have to have Crowdbotics as a tool that stands sort of separate, and then now you have to come to Crowdbotics for something, then copy paste all of that into another tool, right? And as we sort of expand this motion, what we're essentially trying to do is we are, we have a set of REST APIs that we're exposing, but we're also starting to expose the data through interfaces like MCP or A2A. Right? We have a GitHub Copilot extension which pulls a lot of the data from Crowdbotics as well, and we may actually expose a lot of that in GitHub Copilot through MCP as well. So we're starting to get all of this, the data in the platform exposed to whatever system that needs to consume it through the means that that system feels the most comfortable in.